And naturally, I'm a Tottenham man, obviously. I can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
The place is fantastic, the tradition of this club.
To be the manager of 3 cup-winning teams here, I'm so lucky, it's untrue.
Hotspur America podcast, airing every week during the English Premier League season.
What a glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. This great and historic football club.
Joyful night down the Tottenham High Road.
Hotspur America, the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Gascoigne gonna have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Schoolboy's own stuff.
I hate Arsenal, just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! Unbelievable! Wow, this is incredible.
We're the Yids in America.
This is on the tap in. What a fantastic run! He scored! And it's turned home, Eric Dyer.
This is your Hotspur America.
Season 4, episode 26 of the Hotspur America podcast. Lovely 4-0 win against Everton we get to talk about today. A lot of other topics to discuss as well. As always, the Hotspur America podcast brought to you by the Community Beer Company, the perfect pub pint to share with your mates. Follow us on social media. Plenty of platforms out there for everybody. Hotspur America Pod on Instagram, our Twitter page, YouTube, Facebook, Spreaker, and of course iTunes. 4-0 over Everton. Lots of records tied, lots of records broken. Well, not lots, just a handful or a couple. And Simon is here with us today to talk all about it. Simon, how are you?
Good morning.
It is a good morning.
Yeah.
And as we were talking just before we came on air, Bournemouth just went up 2-1. There's about 10 minutes left. And
you had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had to bring that up.
It's my fault when they lose 3-2 and whatever. Vass also joining us, a little bit under the weather, but doing well this morning?
Yeah, hi guys, good to be with you. Yeah, just kind of recovering from a flu and all that kind of jazz, so hopefully I'll be okay to carry on.
Yeah, it's run rampant through North America as well, man. It's been terrible this year. Get better. I want you to feel good.
Yeah.
Timmy also with us. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about Tottenham only. I will not entertain your comments about the scum.
Except for when...
Shut up.
He's drawing a line in the sand.
I know, right? As we discussed, a very, very convincing win yesterday, and I think the one telling stat of all the stats that came out afterwards is that Everton had no shots on goal, and for all the money that they spent in the off-season chairs, you would think that they would have been a little more prominent from the offensive side of the ball. What was your take on yesterday?
Well, I think I mentioned last week's show I didn't expect Fat Sam to park the bus. It's just not in his tactical plan, even if he has any tactical plans. And although it looked like they tried to set up defensively, it never really came to fruition as a lot of other teams that have played us, notably West Ham recently. And you know, when did the first goal go in? 30-something minute? Mm-hmm. So as much as we came at them for that time frame, they really didn't get an opportunity other than, I think, Rooney's goal that was ruled offside. They had a couple of breakaways, but they just fell short. I think the new Turkish guy, stumbled against Sanchez a couple of times. And second half, it was quickly written that they were going to be down significantly, and then they just, even Big Sam, even he said in his post-match interview he was very disappointed in the undisciplined defensive performance. I would be asking the question, why couldn't you go up there and try to score goals? They just couldn't create anything, and it looked like the Everton under Ronald Koeman again. That new manager luster is well worn off. I think it's 4 or 5 games now without a win for them. I think it's four consecutive defeats, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So they've got nothing up front, and the new guy's obviously not going to do much in his first game. He's got to adapt to the Premier League.
I mean, I think that's what you get when you decide to put in the youngster and Mason Holgate against Harry, Dele, Christian, Son. I mean, they left Ashley Williams on the bench. He's not injured. You put up this young player who doesn't have a wealth of experience against our front quartet, and he's going to struggle.
I thought of all their team, Holgate actually had a decent game.
He did play well. He was the only.
Sonny was on his
silver
side.
lining for them.
I saw a lot of it coming from his side. That's where Sonny was. Maybe he had a decent game, but it got in behind him. He didn't track with his players.
As compared to his teammates, he had a decent game.
Yeah.
Because they were shit. Vass, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. 60 minutes in, they looked like they were done running, except for Holgate.
Yeah, they were lacking in any sort of ideas or invention or, the whole thing about them being disorganised. They probably were. I mean, Aurier got free on that right-hand side so many times. That's where the first goal came from. Mm-hmm. And then as the game wore on, it just looked like we could score at will. I mean, they were quite fortunate that at 3-0, we effectively took our foot off the gas and we were just... It almost was like a training session. We were just knocking the ball around, playing keep ball and not really doing too much. And then if we did lose the ball, we just won it back so quickly again and just took control. So I don't know what the thing is with Everton. They're 5 games without a win, like Chair said, and they don't really they don't seem to have that much about them. Holgate, I think he's got lots of potential, no question about it. But they were a poor side yesterday, and we made them look even poorer than they were, I think, in the end.
Yeah, and Tim, you watch the match and you kind of see the ease at which we seem to be attacking recently. And, Kane popped in another couple of goals yesterday. As newer supporters, compared to people like Vass and Chairs and many of the listeners, do you think, I know it doesn't affect us, but do you think that some of the newer supporters don't realize what we're actually witnessing when we watch Kane play and the success that he's had in front of goal?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't, gone through the spells of lacking that attack up front. Talking about the news supporters, I remember at the club yesterday, I started clapping for Aaron Lennon, and a couple of people asked me, why are you clapping? I was like, what do you mean, why am I clapping? Yeah. It's Aaron Lennon. Give him an ovation.
I said that to Mick. I said, and there was some mild applause. So I'll give most of our supporters, members credit. But I was wondering how many people are aware that just a few seasons ago, Aaron Lennon was still a Spurs player. And that's okay. We're going to have people whose history only goes back so far. And then it's up to them and it's up to us to help them educate themselves on prior history so that they know who Jimmy Greaves and Glenn Hoddle and Steve Perryman are.
It's part of our
yeah, I mean,
right?
It's going back to learning. Going back to what you were saying, Kenny, I mean, with Harry, that's, a once, twice in a lifetime player. I don't know.
Here's a comparison for you.
Go for it, Vass.
Yeah. Okay, so Jimmy Greaves, best ever striker, scored 220 goals in 321 games. That's 1 in every 1.45 games. Harry Kane so far has scored 98 goals in 135 games. That's 1 in every 1.37. So he's scoring at a faster rate than Greaves at the moment.
And it keeps falling because it was 1.43 not too long ago, and now it's 1.37.
Yeah. So, we are witnessing something really, really special. And it's probably hard to take in because it's got to the point now where Kane, he scores so regularly, we just expect it without even, thinking about it. So,
I think Ken and I were talking this a couple of weeks ago. Someone who was pro Greaves was getting upset that, Greavesy was doing it on, mud pitches with Hunter and Harris chopping at his ankles, but you also had defenses that were notoriously porous back then, which isn't the case today. So I think the two cancel each other out. It's a much better playing surface. The rules of refereeing is much tighter. The equipment, the boots, the ball, I mean, those are all great pros, but you've got defenses that don't give up the goals that they used to in the 60s.
And what a tap in Merchant yesterday.
Sure was.
I mean, he's really
amazing
boiling
passes.
some piss, you know that.
Do what?
Amongst rival fans. He's really boiling some piss amongst rival fans.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, his goals were set up by great team play. I mean, it was just right there for him in front of the goal. His goals were down to, that second goal. What a pass from Eric Dyer.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great pass, yeah.
And then that first one, that first one's all down to Sonny, that beautiful spin on the ball, drive it into the box. Granted, it may have been offsides, but through my lily white tinted glasses, I think he was onside.
Well, like I've said a million times, I think those things cancel themselves out over the course of a season. We've been cheated in that way, and we've benefited from bad calls, and VAR is obviously something that's going to be explored by the Premier League, and maybe that's a discussion for another day. I don't know that I want to jump into that discussion right now. I kind of like the human factor. Even baseball and officiating, even cricket, I guess. Vass, I know you watch Ashes a little bit.
So, are we jumping into the discussion?
Fuck's sake! I always do this.
You said you didn't want to, and then you did. Let's keep it going. No VAR,
right? So
no VAR. It's not affecting us yet.
It's not.
That goal
not,
for
but the
Kane.
league is exploring it, so it begs to ask the question. Are you for it or against it? I guess that's the point right now, right? So we see things, and you look at. I remember before, VAR happened in the NFL. There were a lot of plays that they singled out that said this is the reason why you have to have it. I grew up, not to change the subject from Tottenham to the NFL, but I grew up a Houston Oilers fan, and I remember a playoff game when Houston played Pittsburgh, and Mike Renfro caught a touchdown at the back of the end zone. Both feet down, diving catch. They ruled it incomplete, and the instant replay showed as definitively as that goal that we scored against United that was disallowed, that was 3 feet behind the line, that it was a goal and it was a touchdown. And it was plays like that when they fought to integrate VAR into the NFL, that was one of the plays, and it was a lot of plays like that because the game. I've made the comment, if you're not going to have VAR, and I'm admittedly for it, if you're not going to have VAR, then you have to treat it like the World Cup and maybe put extra officials on the touch lines or something more, because the game is so fast that unless you're going to have world-class athletes as your officials, they're not going to be able to keep up with the players. You have to have something to assist them. That's my point on that. So, Tim, I'll let you comment, and then I want to hear from the old guard, because that's where it really matters to me.
Well, I mean, I'm for it in limited circumstances. Was a player offsides? Was there contact made on a penalty given? Those things that you can clearly see. I mean, look at it in the NFL. We still don't fucking know what a catch is. It happens game in and game out. It happened in the Steelers-Patriots game. At the very end of it, it happened with the Dez catch in Green Bay. Those kind of calls, even with video review, it seems like it's still being messed up. But I'm for it for those limited circumstances where it was a player offsides, was a goal wrongly given, was a penalty kick given when there was no contact being made. Those things, I think you can take a look back and see whether a foot was in front of the other player.
Is it offsides all the time, or is it offsides only if a goal is scored?
Only if a goal is scored, because I don't.
Otherwise, you're stopping.
I
only
want
minutes,
it,
right?
I only want it for things that are affecting the game: a penalty kick, a goal, a red card. Look back at it.
And we somewhat already have it for a goal, right? They have the gold line decision, matrix that goes up there that'll beep the referee or buzz his hip or whatever it is, right? So that's already integrated.
Right. I mean, I think one of the great things about the game is. It is a fluid game. You don't have those constant stops. So I'm not for it for looking at every single play, but if it's a game-changing play, Ireland going to the World Cup, shit like that. Watford's handball yesterday against Southampton. Things like that, I am for reviewing it and getting the call right if it's going to change the major outcome of the game and can change the course of a season. Points, even a single point matters so much, and that can be the difference between Champions League and Europa, relegation, and staying up in the top flight.
So is it a fifth official, like in the commentary box, that has a monitor in front of him that makes that decision, and then radios down to the official?
I wouldn't say in the commentary box because, when you're in the stadium, you get those emotions. Do it like the NFL. They send it back to the NFL replay booth in LA. They don't have the officials at every match. You're at a location separate from the game. You're not drawn into the drama.